देशतारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोविंद राधे जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय शील प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Gunashri Mataji. 1 second. Hare Krishna. Welcome all Prabhujis, Matajis to today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9 as part of the Bhakti Vaibhav course. And today is a very, very special day. Today happens to be the Ekadashi. So it's very special discussing Srimad Bhagavatam on the day of Ekadashi. So we'll chant the prayers first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiravet Nashtapraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजाता सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदा सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So before we start with the today's session, just few quick announcements. Krishna willing, today we'll be concluding this chapter of Bhishmadev's passing away in the presence of Lord Krishna, and this would also conclude the unit 1 of Bhakti Vaibhav course, which is chapter 1 to 9 of first cantos. So there will be announcement in the end giving details of the open book exam. So I will request all of you to go through that announcement properly, and we'll take a group consensus on conducting that open book exam for the unit 1, maybe in a fortnight's time, if all of you are comfortable. So next week we can target unit test for chapter 9, and next to next weekend we can target open book exam 1 while the discussions are still afresh. And as the name suggests, it is an open book test. That means you can have Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 in front of you, and you can have your notes as well in front of you. And referring to those, devotees can write. We'll provide the details in the end. So let's get started. Anybody recollects what did we discuss last time? Prabhuji's, Mataji's, Hare Krishna. Anybody wants to recollect any points from the last discussion? Devotees can raise their hands. Yes, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Although it was a shorter session compared to the usual number of verses that we cover. Attendance will share Rajiv Prabhuji. Let's focus on the discussion first. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we discussed Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Murli Prabhuji.
We discussed the passing away of Bhishma, Bhishma Deva when he was at during the point when he was giving them the uh, discourse, he realized that the Uttarayan has started. So then he started concentrating his thoughts and his mind on totally on Krishna, and then
Yes.
he slowly started to uh, give up his body. That
Yes,
is
Prabhuji.
ingest.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So first part is Bhishmadev receiving the great sages, Lord Krishna and the Pandavas. Second part is Bhishmadev guiding Maharaj Yudhishthir on how to rule the kingdom, including the duties of various varnas, ashramas. Specifically, also he covered the part on the ladies and he also covered part on the householders. And then the next part is when Bhishmadev realized that the sun has entered Uttarayan, the northern hemisphere, then Bhishmadev concluded his instructions to Maharaj Yudhishthir and he focused his mind on Lord Krishna. And there are also few verses that we are going to refer to today. Just before Bhishmadev giving up his body, just before Bhishmadev departing, his meditation on the beautiful form of the Lord, and some of which we discussed last time, including Bhishmadev relishing the form of the Lord as Parthasarthi, and Bhishmadev specifically referring to the sight on the battlefield with Lord Krishna being injured because of the numerous arrows that were being shot, sharp arrows being shot by Bhishmadev, and the Lord's body and the blood oozing out of those wounds. So Bhishmadev is recollecting that beautiful form of the Lord. And we will also see in part in today's discussion how this is a reciprocation of a special mellow, special rasa between the devotee and the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada writes time and again in the purport that for an ordinary person, entrance into understanding this pastime is not available, because externally a person may see either in an offensive manner that how can a devotee shoot arrows at the Lord, or he will misunderstand the feelings of the Lord in terms of the Lord's transcendental body getting wounded and blood oozing out of it. So that also we will discuss. Any other point any devotees want to add? I saw earlier Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji had also raised hand. Mataji, you want to add something? Hare Krishna. All right. Devika Shetty Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
Prabhu, I
Mataji.
don't want to add points, but I have a question regarding the classes, whatever we discussed.
Yes, Mataji.
When Krishna is in front, when the Supreme Lord is in front of Bhishma Deva, why he has to wait for Uttarayana to start to give up his body, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, were you there last part of the discussion, last session, last weekend?
No, Prabhu. Last week I was absent. I could not see
Okay. So we discussed this point in great detail because this was also, this question was asked by P.S. Murthy Prabhuji. So I will just mention in short, but you can refer to the video from the last session where we have discussed this in great detail. So basically, Bhishmadev is an eternal associate. He is a Nitya Siddha devotee in the spiritual world, eternal associate of the Lord in the Vaikuntha world. So yes, he need not have waited for the right time according to the yogic calculation given in the Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, that when the sun is in the northern hemisphere and when the influence of the fiery demigod Agnidev is there, that time is the right time for the yogis when they choose to leave the body in order to attain the desired destination. So Bhishmadev did not have all of this as a obligation or a requirement for him to go back home, back to Godhead. However, he had that choice to make, that he had the Ichha Mrityu facility available because of the benediction granted to him by his father, Maharaj Shantanu. So he just utilized it to leave his body at that particular moment. But it was not a prerequisite or necessity for him to follow that in order to go back home, back to Godhead. And as we will also see, which is mentioned in the subsequent verses, that ordinary persons, they misunderstand the passing away of Bhishmadev, thinking that Bhishmadev's life has ended. But Bhagavatam gives us pointer to a further perspective, saying that devotees like Bhishmadev, they eternally take part in the pastimes of the Lord. So that is the prayer of Bhishmadev to engage in that pastime of fighting with Lord Krishna, against Lord Krishna, just to give him pleasure in the Virya ras. So Bhishmadev simply wanted to conclude his pastime to be able to enter into another cosmic manifestation where Lord is conducting his pastime. So coming back to your question, yes, it was definitely not an obligation, but it was just the time and circumstances he chose because he had a choice. Okay,
Thank you.
Mataji. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So let's proceed. Any other devotees have any other points before we proceed with text 36 onwards? Vipin Vilas Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I heard from one of the senior devotee actually. Basically, Vishwadev was waiting for a Uttarayan. Uttarayan means not like 14 January or this one Uttarayan, but Uttarayan is a name of the Lord of Krishna also, because we know that when Aswasthama throw the Brahmastra for killing the Parikshit Maharaj, so at that time he went inside the womb of the Uttara. So because of that, it is Uttarayan. So basically, Bhishmadev was waiting for the Lord Krishna to leave his body. So that is I heard from one of the senior devotee. So that's why I like.
Thank you, Vipin Vilas Prabhuji, for sharing that. But yes, the point remains that he did not have any prerequisite conditions to be fulfilled to attain supreme abode. So let's proceed with text 36. Any devotees would like to recite the text? Hare Krishna. We would request devotees who typically don't recite, Ajit Tiwari Prabhu, Ananda Prada, Indulekha Mataji, Anand Vilas Prabhu, Devika Mataji, Divya Rukmini Mataji, and so many other devotees. Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Om
Krishna.
Vasudevaya. Vyavahita Pratanamukham Niriksha
Vyavahita
Pratanamukham Niriksha
Vajanavadhat Vimukhasya Dosha Buddhya
Svajanavat
Vimukhasya dosha buddhya
Kumatim Aharadhatma Vidyayayash
Kumate Maharad Atma Vidyayash
Charanarati Paramasya Tasya Mestu
Charanarati
Paramasya
Paramasya
Mestu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. 1 second. Yes, translation.
Translation by Srimati Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance, upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction.
Thank you. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that how in different circumstances, Lord puts his own devotees in a state of bewilderment. But in the absolute sense, these devotees are ever liberated personalities. Like we see the example of Arjuna. Srila Prabhupada writes in the first chapter Bhagavad Gita purports that he was a liberated soul. So it was not possible for Arjuna to be bewildered. Krishna put him in that circumstances just to let the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita be available for the upliftment and well-being of all the humanity. So we will read a part of this purport. Prema Priya Mataji, you want to read this purport?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. All the commanders on the parties on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were standing face to face, and Arjuna saw them with great compassion and lamented that he was to kill his kinsman on the battlefield for the sake of the empire. He was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by Duryodhana, but as a merciful devotee of the Lord, renunciation of worldly things was natural for him, and thus he decided not to fight for worldly possessions. But this was due to a poor fund of knowledge, and therefore it is said that his intelligence became polluted. His intelligence could not be polluted at any time because he was a devotee and constant companion of the Lord, as is clear in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Apparently, Arjuna's intelligence became polluted because otherwise there would not have been a chance to deliver the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for the good of all polluted conditioned souls engaged in material bondage by the conception of the false material body. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you, Maharaj. And similarly, we see so many other examples, including that of Maharaj Parikshit. For a momentary error in judgment, he was punished very, very severely. And he took it also, although being capable to counteract to the impudent Brahmana boy, Shringi, Maharaj Parikshit chose not to do so, considering it as the will of the Lord. And that's why Maharaj Parikshit is glorified that his birth, his life, as well as his passing away from this material world was all dedicated for the service of the Lord without any selfish motive. Yes, so we continue with Bhishma Dev's meditation on the Lord before his departure. So there are verses. This will be till Suta Goswami takes over in text 43. So there are different beautiful meditations, and we will go through a bit more into detail about the verses where there are more lessons from Srila Prabhupada's purport. Vandita Tunga Vidya Mataji, Hare Krishna. You want to recite?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Namaskar, Prabhuji.
Dandals.
स्वनिगममपहाय मत्प्रतिज्ञा
Allow us to follow you, Mataji. Just give me 1 minute. I will show the Devanagari. Yes.
स्वनिगममपहाय मत्प्रतिज्ञा मृतमधिकर्तुमवप्लुतो रथस्थः धृतरथचरणो अभ्ययाच्छलद्गुः हरिरिव हन्तुमिभं गतोत्तरीयः
Translation.
Can I read?
Yes, Mataji, please go.
Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel and ran towards me hurriedly. Just as a lion goes to kill an elephant, he even dropped his outer garment on the way.
Yeah, on the way to attacking Bhishma Dev on the battlefield. So let me just quickly go to the slide deck.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, 1 second. Yes. You can read the highlighted part in the next day's fighting.
Okay. In the next day's fighting, Bhishma Deva fought so violently that both Arjuna and Krishna were in trouble. Arjuna was almost defeated. The situation was so tense that he was about to be killed by Bhishma Deva the very next moment. At that time, Lord Krishna wanted to please his devotee Bhishma by keeping Bhishma's promise, which was more important than his own.
Thank you, Mataji. So here we see that we know that whole episode of Duryodhana basically complaining to Bhishma Dev about his paternal affection to the Pandavas and being lenient to the Pandavas by not uh, fighting with them that much fiercely so as to kill them and defeat them. And Bhishma, as a Kshatriya, this insult or accusation from Duryodhana was very, very painful. And he took a vow to kill the Pandavas the next day using very special arrows. And subsequently, we see how Krishna protected the Pandavas by having Arjuna visit the Kaurava camp and get those 5 special arrows from Duryodhana. And Bhishma immediately knew that it was the plan of the Lord. Otherwise, no one else could have done this, take those 5 arrows away. But he took the vow that since Lord has made me break my vow by not being able to kill the Pandavas, I will still fight the Pandavas fiercely and will get Arjuna in a difficult situation where Krishna will be forced to take up the weapon. So here the important part is this. At that time, Lord Krishna wanted to please his devotee Bhishma. Just protecting Arjuna was not Lord Krishna's purpose alone. Because if that was the purpose, then in the later part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Lord could have protected the Arjuna without even getting down from the chariot, without having to lift the wheel of the chariot in order to attack Bhishma. But he knew the desire of Bhishma that Bhishma Dev wanted to see Krishna with a weapon in his hand. He wanted Krishna to break his promise the way Krishna made him break his own promise. And to fulfill the desire of the devotee, Lord Krishna got down from Arjuna's chariot and rushed towards Bhishma in great anger, picking the wheel of the chariot in order to kill Bhishma. So we will just read this one small part. Seemingly, he broke his own promise. That means Krishna broke his own promise. He promised before the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra that he would remain without weapons and would not use his strength for either of the parties. But to protect Arjun, he got down from the chariot, took up the wheel of the chariot, and hurriedly rushed at Bhishma Dev in an angry mood, as a lion goes to kill an elephant. And we saw this last time, how Bhishma Dev had a better vision of this particular form of the Lord as a Parthasarathi, both while driving the chariot of Arjun, as well as when Krishna rushed to kill Bhishma Dev. That time as well, he cherished this vision of the Lord lifting the wheel to attack Bhishma Dev. And then Arjuna, because Arjuna was sitting behind Krishna, so he could not have the view of the Lord as nicely as Bhishma Dev had the darshan of these forms of the Lord. And here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that there was no need for Krishna to do all this just to protect. Protection of Arjuna was already assured just because of Krishna being present there. Of course, there was no possibility of Arjuna's death because the Lord himself was on the chariot. But because Bhishmadev wanted to see Lord Krishna take up some weapon to save his friend, the Lord created this situation, making Arjuna's death appear imminent. He stood before Bhishmadev to show him that his promise was fulfilled. His means Bhishmadev's promise, and Bhishmadev's promise was, I will make Lord pick up the weapon in order to break his earlier promise, the way he is making me break my promise by taking away those 5 arrows. And he had taken up the wheel. Lord Krishna had taken up the wheel. So here we see that Krishna elevates his devotee to even a higher position. He loves to elevate his devotees to a position even higher than him in order to glorify them. And we see this like Bhishmadev, Krishna is known as Rathanga Pani, just because of this particular pastime of because of Bhishma Dev's desire. So he wants Bhishma Dev to be glorified as such a great devotee. To fulfill Bhishma Dev's promise, Lord even broke his own promise. So protection of Arjuna was not the primary reason, but to fulfill the desire of Bhishma Dev was the primary reason for Krishna to lift the wheel weapon. So this part of the purport we have already seen. In the previous slide, I had written one more point, that the great personalities like Arjuna, Maharaj Parikshit, and even other great personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam like Maharaj Chitraketu, apparently we do see scriptures mentioning in some part about some error in judgment from their side, but Shastras caution us that we should not look at these great personalities by minimizing their importance, but should understand the overall pastime in a way that all this is being enacted by the Lord just for all of us to learn our lessons. So we should not subjectively judge such great personalities thinking that, okay, he did some wrong, therefore Lord corrected him. Not at all. These devotees cannot be wrong. Lord is just orchestrating it for our purpose, for our sake. So we proceed. Any devotees have any comments, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, on this? We have a group activity in the end, which will cover all these verses in one go. So you will have to anyway go through the details of the purport as part of the group activity, if you haven't done so earlier. Any devotees have any questions? Vandita Mataji, you have any question? This was just for recitation. Okay, fine. So let's proceed. Yes, so let's go back to the text. So we would request devotees to read just the translation part of text 38 and 39. Hare Krishna. Can we have hands of devotees who want to read? If not, I will read. Yeah, Gita, Pradeep Mataji, and then we'll read. Hare Krishna. Yeah, keep these hands on only, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Yes, Mataji.
Only translation, right?
Yes.
May he, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered, and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds.
Thank you, man. So in this verse and the next verse, Srimad Bhagavatam explains the reciprocation of special rasa, special melo between the devotee and the Lord. That how all that Bhishma Dev is doing is with a singular purpose of pleasing the Lord, and all that is Lord is doing is with the singular purpose of pleasing Bhishma Dev. So we'll divide the purport into few parts to explain these points. Yes, Mataji, Gita Pradip.
Purport. The dealings of Lord Krishna and Bhishma Deva on the battlefield of Kurukshetra are interesting because the activities of Lord Sri Krishna appear to be partial to Arjuna and at enemy with Bhishma Deva. But factually, all this was especially meant to show special favor to Bhishma Deva, a great devotee of the Lord. The astounding feature of such dealings is that a devotee can please the Lord by playing the part of an enemy. The Lord, being absolute, can accept service from his pure devotee even in the grab of an enemy. The Supreme Lord cannot have any enemy, nor can a so-called enemy harm him because he is Ajita or unconquerable. But still he takes pleasure when his pure devotee beats him like an enemy or rebukes him from a superior position, although no one can be superior to the Lord. These are some of the transcendental reciprocatory dealings of the devotee with the Lord. And those who have no information of pure devotional service cannot penetrate into the mystery of such dealings. Bhishma Deva played the part of a valiant warrior, and he purposely pierced the body of the Lord so that to the common eyes it appeared that the Lord was wounded. But factually, all this was to bewilder the non-devotees. The all spiritual body cannot be wounded, and a devotee cannot become the enemy of the Lord. Had it been so, Bhishmadeva would not have desired to have the very same Lord as the ultimate destination of his life. Had Bhishmadeva been an enemy of the Lord, Lord Krishna could have annihilated him without even moving. There was no need to come before Bhishmadeva with blood and wounds, but he did so because the warrior devotee wanted to see the transcendental beauty of the Lord, decorated with wounds created by a pure devotee. This is the way of exchanging transcendental rasa, or relations between the Lord and the servitor. By such dealings, both the Lord and devotee become glorified in their respective positions. He proceeded towards Bhishmadeva as a lover goes to a lover without caring for hindrance.
Thank you, Mother.
Thank
Srila Prabhupada ki
Shiva.
jai. So here it is explained how if Lord Krishna wanted to protect Arjuna, he could have done it by annihilating Bhishmadev even without getting down from the chariot and having to take up the wheel, because just by his desire, everything can happen without he having to practically take any action. But his specific purpose was to give Bhishmadev this darshan that Bhishmadev cherished, to see the Lord with wounds on his body and the blood oozing out as a offering of love from Bhishmadev's side, because Bhishmadev was ultimately giving pleasure to Lord Krishna in Viryaras, in the mood of chivalry. So Lord gave Bhishmadev this particular darshan. So there are many different episodes in the scriptures, and one of that I have quoted here on the slide, of Lord giving pleasure to the devotee by fulfilling his desire of fight with him. We see the story of Shamantaka jewel. Anybody would like to narrate this pastime concisely, but including the details at the same time, explaining what was the background of Jambavan fighting with Lord Krishna, or the other way around, Krishna fighting with Jambavan. What was the desire of Jambavan? Anybody would like to narrate the background? Hare Krishna. You can try, even if you know little bit. If required, I will add. But you can.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Adidev Gopesh Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, Jambav's desire was to see the Lord, Prabhu, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Any other devotee? What was the background of this fight between Jambavan and Lord Krishna? Who was Jambavan, Prabhuji's Mataji's?
He was in the pastime of Lord Ram also. He was.
Yes. So Jambavan was in the pastime of Lord Ramachandra as part of the bear in the monkey army, and he was very, very powerful. And before Lord Ramachandra, which other incarnation of the Lord did Jambavan participate in the pastime? Any other incarnation? We request other devotees also to try. Even if you have heard or read, that is also mentioned in Srila Prabhupada books for sure. Devika Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Vandita Mataji.
In Dwapara Yuga also Jambavanta.
Yes, so Dwapara Yuga, this particular pastime is happening after the age of Treta, when Lord Ramachandra appeared. So Dwapara Yuga, we are all in consensus. The question is, which other incarnation of the Lord did Jambavan participate in the pastime? Any devotees would like to try? Don't worry about being right or wrong. Nobody will judge you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Boar incarnation?
Boar incarnation, Varaha avatar. I'm just thinking. Maybe I have not heard Prabhuji, so I can't validate yes or no. But I have heard one more incarnation where Jambavan did participate.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhuji.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In what way? Can you give the reference?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Reference, I don't know, Prabhuji. Just I thought of it.
Okay. So I have not heard, so I can't again validate yes or no. Okay. What definitely reference is available is Jambavan participating in the pastime of Vamanadev. When Vamanadev, it is mentioned that when he, as a dwarf Brahmana, when he got the charity of 3 footsteps of land from Maharaj Bali, and when he expanded his form and pierced the covering of the universe, it is explained that Jambavan, as a bear, he circumambulated the entire cosmic manifestation and the Lord 7 different times in a very short span of time. So Jambavan is no ordinary personality. He has appeared in different incarnation in Lord's pastimes as different incarnations. And as Adidev Prabhu mentioned, that he was also part of the monkey army and helped greatly in the monkeys getting the basically pinpointing the location of Mother Sita and planning for her return. However, it is mentioned that Jambavan was so strong, but in the actually he did not have any proper match to fight with him in the battle. It is explained that even in the battle of Lord Ramachandra and Ravana, once Jambavan, although being very, very old at that particular point in time, he kicked Ravana, and Jambavan's one kick, Ravana became unconscious. And it is also explained in Ramayana that there were many commanders in Lord Ramachandra's army, including Hanumanji, including Angad, including Jambavan, who were fully capable of annihilating Ravan. In fact, Hanumanji, and without going into the much sideline of the topic, he also offered to bring back Mother Sita in the first go itself when he was in Ashoka Vatika. But Mother Sita specifically wanted Lord Ramachandra to come, defeat Ravana, and then get her back to Ayodhya. That was her desire, and all the monkey army worked very hard to fulfill the desire of Mother Sita. But competency-wise, strength-wise, there were many commanders in the army of Lord Ramachandra who, by the empowerment of the Lord, would have fulfilled this particular task. So coming back to Jambavan, it so happened that after the battle of Lord Ramachandra and Ravana was over, Jambavan made this wish in front of Lord Ramachandra that, my dear Lord, my desire to fight has never been properly fulfilled because, I could never get a proper suitable match. And Lord Ramachandra, because he was following certain rules as the Maryada Purushottam, he said that, look, in my current appearance, I cannot have a fight with you, but I promise you that I will definitely fulfill your desire for a duel fight between both of us in my next incarnation when Lord appears as Lord Krishna. So that was also one of the reasons for Lord Krishna to arrange for a fight with Jambavan in that cave in the story of Shamantaka jewel. Now this pastime we know from Krishna book. Anybody would like to describe very briefly what happened in case of Shamantak jewel pastime? Devotees can try. Specifically devotees who have not spoken, Ajit Tiwari Prabhu and Divya Rukmini Mataji and Ananda Prada Indulekha Mataji. Yes, Mataji, you want to try?
Now coming? Oh.
Rajiv Sondur Prabhuji, you want to try? Or Ananda Prada Indulekha Mataji or any other devotees? What happened in the case of Shamantaka jewel?
I know so much that Shamantak Mani created
Mataji, one second. We'll give chance to other devotees also. Ishwari Murari Priya Mataji, Jagadananda Prabhu, you want to try?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yeah. So, Shamantaka jewel was that the money was stolen and then it was blamed to Lord Krishna.
What was that money? Who did give that money? To whom? For what purpose? What was the reason?
I think it was by Jamvati that she gave it to the...
No, that comes much later. The background of who gave this jewel to whom? See, are devotees reading Srila Prabhupada's books, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Hare Krishna. I'm sure that Namanishta Prabhuji will not be too happy if he sees that devotees are clueless about these very famous pastimes of Lord Krishna. This is mentioned in Krishna book to great detail.
The king called Satrajita, the money is given by Surya Dev, I think.
Yes, because Satrajit was a worshipper of the sun god.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Mataji. And then what happened next?
It was lost and the blame come to Sri Krishna.
Before it was lost, what happened? Basically, the
Shamantaka Mani was giving gold each day, Prabhuji, during morning time.
yes,
So like Krishna thought like this precious jewel, it should be with the king of the province. So like he approached Satyajit Raj and he said like it should be given to the Shurasena Maharaja.
Ugrasena Maharaj.
Ugrasena Maharaja. So but he was not willing to give that jewel, Prabhuji.
Yes, so Shatrajit was very attached to the jewel, and Lord Krishna was not attached. He just, for the welfare of the overall kingdom, he felt the jewel should be given to the king Ugrasen. And then Satrajit, seeing Satrajit's attachment, Lord Krishna relented and the jewel remained with Satrajit. Then what happened?
And his brother Prasena, he one day like he asked, so like he took that jewel and he went for a ride in the forest, wearing that jewel in his neck in the form of a necklace. So
yes, so both Satrajit and his brother, basically they wanted to show off the jewel. And because the jewel was so effulgent, whenever Satrajit used to walk around in Dwarka wearing that jewel, because of the effulgence, people almost used to mistake him for a devata or so. He was so effulgent. And subsequently, his brother also wanted to show off. So he went for excursion wearing this jewel as a necklace. Then?
So in the forest, a lion saw that and it got attracted and lion killed the Prasena and lion took the jewel along with him. And he was having the jewel, and this news went to Jambavan. Jambavan thought like this precious jewel should be with him, and he fought with the lion and he killed the lion and he got the jewel and he gave it to his son for to play, Prabhuji.
Yes. Yes. And subsequently, what happened in Dwarka?
Like Prasena, he was killed in the forest. Like he didn't came back to the city even after few days. So then this then
there were rumors that because Krishna had previously asked Satrajit to hand over this jewel to the king, probably it is Krishna who has caused Prasena's disappearance just to obtain the jewel. That was the rumor spread by Satrajit, and there were also hush discussions amongst some of the Dwarkavasis. And then what happened?
Krishna, he didn't wanted to like take that blame, so he thought of going to the forest in search of that jewel along with his few companions, and like in the forest, only Krishna, like he reached that cave wherein the Jambavant was there, and he saw that jewel was with the Jambavant's son, and he thought of taking that, but he cried immediately. So Jambavant heard that his son's cry, and he came out and he saw Krishna, and he fought with Krishna for nearly 18 days.
18 or 28, but yeah, I think
some number, not very
long number of days. And
in the
Dwarkavasis who were waiting outside the cave, they thought that Krishna is gone basically. For that long he has not come out, so they put a big stone outside at the cave's entrance. And
Prabhuji, so that is Vali's, no Prabhuji, that is Vali.
Vali's? Okay.
Yeah, Prabhuji. This only Krishna went to the cave, Prabhuji. Like others, they return back, Prabhuji.
Yeah, they return back because after a long time of Krishna fighting with Jambavan, there was no one coming out. So they all returned back. So after 28 days period, Jambavan realized that When Jambavan, each and every joint of his body was in great pain, he realized that the person who is fighting with me can none other be than my worshipable Lord. And then Jambavan basically begged forgiveness from Lord Krishna, realizing him as the same Supreme Lord, and handed over his daughter Jambavati in marriage. Thank you, Reena Mataji. But coming back to this particular pastime, Lord Krishna fulfills the desire of his great devotees, even their desire to fight sometimes with the Lord. And similarly, the devotees also give pleasure to the Lord by fulfilling his desire of fighting in Viryaras, in chivalry, like Jai and Vijay we see, and like Bhishmadev as we see. Hare Krishna. Any other point anybody wants to add on this particular point, coming back to Srila Prabhupada's purport? How the transcendental reciprocation of melo or rasa takes place between the Lord and the pure devotee. Hare Krishna. And here it is mentioned that Lord Krishna proceeded towards Bhishmadev, although Arjuna was trying to stop Lord Krishna from taking up the wheel and attacking Bhishmadev, because he did not want Krishna's reputation to be harmed by Krishna taking up the weapon just to protect his devotee Arjuna. But Krishna was not, here it is mentioned. The Lord was so angry that that Arjuna checked him when he was moving towards Bhishmadev. But in spite of Arjuna's checking, he proceeded towards Bhishmadev as a lover goes to a lover without caring for hindrances. And here it is mentioned, apparently his determination was to kill Bhishmadev, but factually it was to please him. Him means Bhishmadev, as a great devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, Prabhuji's, Mataji's on this? 28 days. Yes, thank you, Divya Rukmani Mataji. Any questions, comments on this particular pastime? How the reciprocation of loving relationships, exchanging of the transcendental rasa happens between Lord and the pure devotee. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Anybody wants to add something to this before we proceed? All right. So let's go to the next verse. Devika Mataji, want to read through the next? Let me just see.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai. At the moment of a death, let my ultimate attraction to be Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death.
Yes. Thank you. So in the purport, Hare Krishna, one second. Srila Prabhupada mentions that it may appear that the Lord is favorable to Arjuna in this particular pastime of Lord attacking Bhishma and is inimical to Bhishmadev, but it is not at all. Bhishmadev himself is condoning this particular fact that in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, everybody who left their body in front of the Lord, they all got benefited by regaining their original form. Was it in this particular section or in Marathi Bhagavatam section? I don't recollect. One devotee had asked about who are the Vasus, Bhishmadev being one of the Vasus. Was it here, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Or was it in a different section? I don't recollect, but there was a question which is quite relevant to this particular translation that we are reading. Vasus, they are one of the residents of the higher planetary systems, specifically in the material world itself, like the Devata planets and all. So Bhishmadev is mentioned as one of the 8 Vasus, but it doesn't mean that Bhishmadev is literally that particular personality, because we just discussed a while ago that Bhishmadev is one of the eternal associates of the Lord in the Vaikuntha planets. So then how can we understand that Bhishmadev being born as one of the Vasus? So this point is also explained by senior devotees yesterday in the class in the temple. One of Srila Prabhupada's very senior disciple, His Holiness Rompa Swami Maharaj, also explained this. He was discussing about Narsimhadev's pastime because of upcoming Narsimha Chaturdashi festival. And Maharaj mentioned in one of the points that how Prahlad, Narsimhadev's eternal servant and devotee, he appeared in his Avesha in Lord Chaitanya's pastime as Vasudev Datta and also in part as Srila Haridas Thakur. And then one devotee asked this question that how you are mentioning Maharaj as Srila Haridas Thakur, and when it is mentioned prominently in many parts as Vasudev Datta, to which Maharaj explained that whenever such great souls who are Nitya, Hare Krishna, Rasarangini Mataji, I'm having some background sound. 1 second. Yeah, so Maharaj mentioned that how do we understand this particular fact when such Nitya Siddha associates of the Lord, they are mentioned to be appearing in Lord's pastime, taking the body of a Devata and so on. Does it mean that they become one of the personalities of this material world? So Maharaj answered, the answer is no. He mentioned that they may be taking the body of a devata or a person of this material world in the form of avesha. Avesha means in a specific mood. But after that pastime of the Lord is over, then that particular mood of the Nitya Siddha associate of the Lord, it returns to the spiritual world, and whatever the devata is participating in the Lord's pastime, they also get elevated to the whatever earlier position they had as a devatas, etc. Like in Krishna's pastime, we see so many devatas participating, like the sons of Kuvera, Nala Kuver and Manigriv. It is mentioned that they attained their heavenly form, they went back to their earlier position. Similarly, who we were discussing, Bhishmadev. So Vasus, as one of the 8 Vasus, after Bhishmadev left his body, the Vasu part of Bhishmadev, it went to the Vasu, the higher planetary system within this cosmic manifestation. But Bhishmadev, the eternal associate of the Lord, his particular mood, it went back to the eternal spiritual world. So that is how Maharaj explained, we can understand this eternal associate taking the form in the material world, performing the pastime, and then after conclusion of those pastimes, returning back to their original constitutional position. So that is how we can understand. Hare Krishna. Of course, the question would not go in that much detail, so don't worry from the exam point of view, but at least conceptually, all of us, we should be very clear. When we say Bhishma is a Vasu, it doesn't make him a person of this material world. Any questions, comments, queries, Prabhuji's on this? Attendance link we will share in the end, because Rohini Mataji has shared it with me on WhatsApp, and it will take at least 2-3 minutes for me to open WhatsApp. So I want to save that time. Hare Krishna. Sadatushta Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. In one of the recent discussions in similar lines, it was told that why Krishna chooses Arjuna for giving this Bhagavad Gita knowledge. And it is said that Arjuna is the eternal associate of Krishna. And in Goloka Vrindavana pastime, it is Arjuna is Vishaka Sakhi. And one of the question was asked in the classes, in Dwapara Yuga, Vishaka Sakhi was there with Krishna as one of the gopis in Vrindavan pastime, and then how this Arjuna in the same thing has come. So is this answer same for this particular thing what we are discussing, or is it any different answer for that, Prabhuji?
It's similar. So basically, how we should understand it is the Avesha of the Nitya Siddha Bhakta can be present in more than one living entity. So it is not based on the concept of material concept of anthropomorphism. That means either the devotee be this or that. That mood can be taken in multiple forms, even within the same pastime of the Lord. Is that all right? Sadatushta Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare
Is it too technical, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? If you feel it is too difficult to understand, maybe we can explain once, but that won't be part of the exam, so you don't get too anxious. But this is just to clarify our doubts. Hare Krishna. Yamaraj is also positioned after Vidura. Yes, so on the chat, Ananda Vilas Prabhuji has asked, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Yamaraj is also a position after Vidura left his body. Again, he was appointed Yamaraj, devotee, Mahajan may be at any position. So devotee Mahajan may be at any position. Yeah, so Yamaraj is also an eternal servant and one of the Mahajanas, just that his service is in a peculiar circumstances to punish the miscreants, basically. And after Vidura left his body, he again went back to that particular position. Yes. So let's proceed. Yeah, so this particular portion of the purport we should go through. Any devotee would like to go through? Devika Mataji, you had raised your hand earlier.
Yes, Prabhu. I'll continue.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Therefore, the concentration of the mystic yogi and that of the devotee are not on the same level. The concentration of the mystic is mechanical, whereas that of the pure devotee is natural, in pure love and spontaneous affection. Should I continue, Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
The pastime of the Lord, beginning from his birth at the prison house of Kamsa up to the Maushalya Leela at the end, all move one after another in all the universes, just as the clock hand moves from one point to another. And in such pastime, his associates like the Pandavas and Bhishma are constant eternal companions. So Bhishma Deva never forgot the beautiful feature of the Lord as Parthasarathi, which even Arjuna could not see. Arjuna was behind the beautiful Parthasarathi while Bhishma Deva was just in front of the Lord. As far as the military feature of the Lord is concerned, Bhishma Deva observed this with more relish than Arjuna.
Thank you, Mother. So this is also one more justification, supporting point to explain how Krishna took up that particular form of lifting the weapon with wounds on his body and the blood oozing out, just to give pleasure to Bhishmadev, because he knew that Bhishmadev wanted to see this form and he would relish it than Arjun, who was sitting behind. Hare Krishna.
So, should I continue?
Yeah, please continue.
So Lord Sri Krishna was not merciful only to the Pandavas. He was also merciful to the other parties because all of them attained the same result. Bhishma Deva wanted the same facility also, and that was his prayer to the Lord. Although his position as an associate of the Lord is assured in all circumstances, the conclusion is that whoever dies looking on the personality of Godhead within or without attains his Swarupa, which is the highest perfection of life.
Thank you. So here in the purport, Prabhupada also mentions in different parts of the purport that in the ordinary course of action, all the soldiers on the battlefield of Kurukshetra would not have been able to attain salvation, but they were able to attain salvation, freedom from this material world, because of they leaving their body in presence of Lord Krishna. So it is not that Krishna was favorable only to the Pandavas and inimical to the Kauravas or Bhishmadev or soldiers from the other side. Not at all. He was merciful to everyone who was present there and who got the benefit of leaving their body in the presence of the Lord, taking darshan of the Lord. So yes, now we continue with Bhishmadev's meditation, and this verse we will recite. Hare Krishna. So any devotee would like to recite the verse, text 40.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can
Uh,
you?
Mataji, let's try for devotees. If there are no, then I will request you.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Other
Krishna.
devotees, Anand Vilas Keshav Prabhuji. 1 second, let me open this. 40.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. ललित गति विलास वल गुहासा
ललिता गति विलास वलुहासा
प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितो रुमाना
प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितो
कृत मन कृतवत्य उन्मदान्धा प्रकृतिमगन केलयस्य गोपवत्था
प्रकृतिमगन किलयस्य गोपवत्था.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation.
Okay. By intense ecstasy in loving service.
Let my mind.
Okay. Yes, please. Okay. Translation. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the dancers of Vrajadham, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristics movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance.
Thank you, Lord. So here, when Bhishmadev is in the earlier verses glorifying the form of the Lord as Parthasarthi, the question might come to our mind, or even Krishna would be thinking that, my dear Bhishma, if you consider this form so enchanting and so dear to you, does it mean that this particular form that I shown to you is the supreme, and you also glorified the position of Arjuna, that to protect whom I took up the wheel? So does it mean that Arjuna is the topmost of the devotees? So immediately after that, Bhishmadev is referring to the topmost devotees in this particular hierarchy of even the pure devotees. So Bhishmadev is referring to the damsels of the Vrajabhumi, the gopis, as the topmost devotee, and the Shama Sundar form of the Lord in Vrindavan as the topmost form. Yes, Prabhuji, please continue.
By intense ecstasy in loving service, the damsels of Vrajabhumi attend qualities oneness with the Lord by dancing with him on an equal level, embracing him in nuptial love, smiling at him in joke, and looking at him with a loving attitude. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhishma Deva, but the relation of the gopis with the Lord is still more praiseworthy because of their still more purified loving service.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So Bhishmadev is confirming Gopi's position as the topmost, even compared to devotees who are connected with Lord Krishna in Aishwarya Bhav like himself in the Vaikuntha planet. The position of Gopi stands supreme even compared to them. Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopis is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. The gopis' equality with the Lord should never be misunderstood like the Sayuja liberation of the impersonalist. The equality is one of perfect ecstasy where the differential conception is completely eradicated for the interests of the lover and the beloved become identical. So when we say that Bhishma, it will come in the subsequent verses, in his complete meditation and absorption on the Lord, he became one with the Lord. He merged himself in the Supreme. It will come and we will explain that particular point. Or here it is mentioned that gopis, they become equal to the Lord. That equality or merging doesn't indicate the Sayuja Mukti, which is aspired by the by the impersonalist, merging into the bodily effulgence of the Lord. This merging indicates that their total absorption in the thoughts of the Lord. It doesn't imply the physical merging. That's what the impersonalist aspire for. So we proceed. Divya Rukmini Mataji, you can.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, I have one doubt. It's Bhishma Deva in the previous purport. All the one they are attended in the Kurukshetra war. They got it's at they got it's Sayuji or Sarupya. Is it Sayuji Mukti? No, they are getting.
No, not Sayuja. All of them, they got their eternal forms, Mataji.
It's a
Okay,
Sarupya.
Yeah, basically that much details are not provided, but initially it might seem that their soul is merging, like say for example, when it seemed for Shishupal, but ultimately they got the destination of having their transcendental form back in the spiritual world. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we proceed to the next verse. Yes, I would just go through the translation here, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Ajit Tiwari Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I recite?
Yes, Prabhuji. You want to recite the verse or you want to read through? I will ask you one more verse, Prabhuji, later on.
No problem.
At the Rajasuya Yagya, you want to read through?
Okay. Hare Krishna. At the Rajasuya Yagya, that is sacrifice, performed by Maharaja Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. This Bhishma Deva is saying, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. Just 1 second now before we proceed. Yes, Prabhuji, you can read the highlighted part. Bhishma Dev remembered.
Bhishma Deva remembered all this and was glad that his worshipful Lord, the Supreme Lord, is to meditate on the activities, forms, pastimes, name, and fame of the Lord.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Something did we miss? Bhishmadev remembered all this and was glad that his worshipful Lord, the personality of Godhead, was present before him in his actual formal presence. So to meditate on the Supreme Lord is to meditate on the activities, form, pastimes, name, and fame of the Lord. So in one of the subsequent verses, Srila Prabhupada also explains that the fortune what Bhishmadev got in the form of having Lord Krishna personally present before him while leaving his body, all of us, we can also have the same fortune and get the same destination. Although Krishna may not be personally present, still he can be present in the form of his name, form, qualities, pastime. Specifically, he refers to pastimes given in Srimad Bhagavatam or the messages of Lord Krishna given in Bhagavad Gita. If we regularly hear about these scriptures and also specifically have the fortune of hearing them at the time of leaving our body, we would have the same association and realization of the Lord as Bhishma Dev had at the time of his departure, passing away. So we proceed. This is a Ajit Prabhu. Now you can recite, Prabhuji. This is the important verse, text 42 onwards. Just give me 1 minute, Prabhuji. Did I miss anything in the slides? Yes, and as far as merging into the body of the Lord is concerned, I think we have not yet gotten to that verse. We are still at 42, but we'll cover this particular verse when we go to 42. Yes, Prabhuji, please proceed.
This shloka, Prabhuji,
yes,
can I start?
Yes. Let me open the Devanagari also. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Tamim mahamajam sharir bhajam. Hridi hridi dhishtit matmakalpitanam. प्रतिदृशमिव नैकधार्कमेकम् समधिगतोऽस्मि विधूतभेदमोह
And translation.
Okay. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Shri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators.
The sun.
The sun is one. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. So it is explained that Bhishmadev, he was able to view the Lord within his heart in his most cherished form as Parthasarthi and not exactly as the Paramatma feature, as the super soul, because that form of the Lord Bhishmadev cherished the most. The worshipable object of Bhishmadev is Lord Shri Krishna as Parthasarathi, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Shama Sundar. And great Mahatmas like Bhishmadev realize all these different features of Lord Shri Krishna, and therefore they worship Lord Krishna, knowing him as the origin of all features. So now, after Bhishmadev has meditated on the Lord in all this manner, then Bhishmadev completely withdraws his external senses, and basically departure of Bhishmadev is confirmed by Suta Goswami. So this is the last section of this particular chapter after the verses describing Bhishmadev's meditation. So we start with text 43. Any devotee would like to recite Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Divya Rukmini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Sudha Uvacha. Krishnam evam Bhagavati. Manovag Drishti Vrittibhi. Atmanyatmana Veshya. So Antashwasamubharamat. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mike. You want to read through the translation? Can we recite after you, Mataji? This is important.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Shri Suta Uvacha.
Shri Suta Uvacha.
Krishnam evam Bhagavati.
Krishna evam Bhagavati.
Manovag Drishti Vrittibhi. Atmanyatmana Maveshya. So Antashwasamuparamat.
Translation.
Sudha Goswami said, thus Bhishmadeva merged himself in the Super Soul, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So Bhishmadev has now completely withdrawn his senses from the external interactions, and he has become silent, and even the external bodily symptoms, including breathing and everything in his body, have stopped. And here it is mentioned, Bhishmadev merged himself in the super soul. So this merging is explained by our acharyas that it is not a merging of the impersonalist. Here, merging means Bhishmadev's total absorption in remembering the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada mentions this in the purport. The stage attained by Bhishmadev while quitting his material body is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi because he merged himself into thinking of the Lord and his mind into remembering his means Krishna's different activities. So this sort of absorption is also referred to as merging. So it is not the merging of the impersonalist. And there is a beautiful verse which Srila Prabhupada quotes in this regard in his many classes to explain that how a pure devotee of the Lord like Bhishmadev and others who have practiced Lord's remembrance throughout their life, there is no possibility of they having any confusion at the end of their life about the Lord's eternal form as Shama Sundar and being confused with the Brahman effulgence of the Lord. So this is an important verse from 1st Canto 18 chapter text 4. Please try to recite. Na uttama shloka vartanam Jushatam tat kathamritam Syat samramo antakalepi Smaratam tat padambujam. So the translation goes, this was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, such personalities, those who are always engaged in remembering throughout, they do not run the risk of having misconceptions even at the last moment of their lives. So based on this criteria, we can understand that Bhishmadev's merging was not merging into the Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord, but being completely absorbed in his remembrance, in his activities, pastimes. And subsequently, Srila Prabhupada explains about the 9 different angas of bhakti and specifically stressing the first anga of hearing. So we would read through this purport. Divya Rukmini Mataji, you want to read through this? Any one of them. Any one of them.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Any one of them or all of them are equally competent to award the desired results, but they require to be practiced presently under the guidance of an expert devotee of the Lord. The first item, hearing, is the Hare Krishna. Hearing is the most important item of all, and therefore hearing of the Bhagavad Gita and later on Srimad Bhagavatam is essential for the serious candidate who wants to attain the stage of Bhishmadeva at the end.
The unique.
The unique situation of Bhishmadeva's time of death can be attained, even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. His words of the Bhagavad Gita or those of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical with the Lord. They are sound incarnations of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Sri Bhishmadeva, who was one of the 8 Vasus. Even every man or animal must die at a certain stage of life, but one who dies like Bhishmadeva attains perfection, and one who dies forced by the laws of nature dies like an animal. That is the difference between a man and an animal. The human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhishmadeva. It's the art of dying.
Yes, Mataji. So Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam is glorifying the perfect departure of Bhishmadev in total absorption of the Lord, remembering Lord's form, remembering so many wonderful activities, pastimes of the Lord, and being absorbed in that living one's body. this is considered as the proper passing away. And when one is forced to leave his or her body, that is considered like passing away like an animal. Knowing that Bhishmadev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. Who is describing this, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Suta Goswami.
Sutta Goswami.
Yeah, we saw 2-3 verses back from text 42. 42, yeah. 42 onwards, that Suta Goswami has taken over the narration.
Sorry, 43. Prabhu.
43.
43.
Okay. Yeah. So here the analogy is given of everybody who were present there, including Lord himself, the Pandavas. Pandavas were having conversation with Bhishmadev, and the great sages who were observing. Everyone became silent like the birds at the end of the day, seeing Bhishmadev depart from this world, realizing that Bhishmadev has left his body. And to this as well, the acharyas do give their commentary. What does it mean by the birds becoming silent at the end of the day? It is mentioned, and of course, I personally don't have this realization, but have just heard this in the classes, that birds becoming silent at the end of the day, that means the birds start thinking that the world is now finished, that sun has set, that means no more of tomorrow, but next day the sun still rises. That means that the people of this material world, they are not able to understand the passing away of great personalities like Bhishmadev, because they think that yes, this is the end of Bhishmadev. However, the great devotees, they know that personalities like Bhishmadev, they conclude their pastime in a particular cosmic manifestation, only to take part in Lord's pastime in some different cosmic manifestation, in some different universe. Sorry, cosmic manifestation is one, and within cosmic manifestation, there are many, many Brahmandas or universes. So such pure devotees of the Lord, they enter into some different universe just to participate in the Lord's pastime. Yes, so this is an important verse. How did Yudhishthir Maharaj and the sages bid goodbye to Bhishmadev after his passing away? That we will see in text 46, 47. Yeah, and here it is again confirmed that Bhishmadev as an eternal associate of the Lord, what form did he get? Bhishmadev as a pure devotee of the Lord entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord in his eternal form of Parthasarathi predominates over the unconditioned living beings who are constantly engaged in service of the Lord. So Bhishmadev returned there and subsequently in participating in Lord's pastime in different universes. The last few verses of this particular chapter before we go for group activities, we would need to go a bit fast so that we don't delay too much today's conclusion. Any devotee would like to read through the English translation? Hare Krishna.
Can I read for Prabhuji? Can I read?
Subbarao Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Bhishmadeva, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord, in his eternal form of Parthasarathi, predominates over the unconditional living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The love and affection which bind the Lord and...
You can read Prabhuji direct, text 45 translation. Thereafter.
Correct. 945 translation not seen Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
On the right, thereafter.
Thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced. Shall I read? Demonstrations of honor and respect, and from the sky fell showers of flowers.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And the highlighted part of the purport, when the distant
planets were informed of the passing away of Bhishmadeva, all the inhabitants of the upper planets as well as of the earth drop showers of flowers to show due respect to the departed great personality. This showering of flowers from heaven is a sign of recognition by great demigods, and it should never be compared to the decoration of the dead body. The body of Bhishmadeva lost its material effects due to being surcharged with the spiritual realization, and thus the body was spiritualized as when iron becomes red hot when in contact with the fire. The body of the fully self-realized soul is not therefore accepted as material. Special ceremonies are observed for such spiritual bodies. The respect and recognition of Bhishmadeva are never to be imitated by artificial means, as it has become a fashion to observe the so-called Jayanti ceremony for any and every common man. According to authorized Shastras, such a Jayanti ceremony for an ordinary man, however exalted he may be materially, is an offense to the Lord, because Jayanti is reserved for the day when the Lord appears on the earth. Bhishmadeva was unique in his activities, and his passing away to the kingdom of God is also unique.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. So here the glorious passing away of Bhishmadev is explained that the body of such great souls, although being composed of the material elements, it becomes completely spiritualized because of their 24/7 engagement in devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada quotes his often quoted famous example of an iron being put into fire for a very long period of time. Gradually, the iron becomes a red hot iron, and it completely inherits the properties of the fire. So if we touch a flammable substance like a cloth or a dry grass to such a red hot iron, it will also start burning. So similarly, the body of such great souls, the pure devotees of the Lord, Bhishmadev, they also become completely spiritualized because of the service. And then Srila Prabhupada explains that how that's why there are very specific ceremonies that are conducted to honor the transcendental body of such great personalities who depart from this material world. Like recently on May 5th, our last discussion, I mentioned about departure of one of Srila Prabhupada's very senior disciples, His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And whenever such great souls they depart from this world, there are specific ceremonies, including the Samadhi ceremony of their body. So typically their bodies are enshrined in a Samadhi to commemorate their total surrender to the Lord. And departure of such great personalities, we see that devotees, they do lament, they do cry, they do express their separation, but that lamentation by the devotees, it is not for the disappearance or because that person has gone away. That lamentation is specifically because we have now become bereft of the association of that great personality. That person has definitely benefited because he has gone back home, back to Godhead, but it is who we are at a loss because we are no more able to get the Vapu, we are not able to get the Vapu association, the physical association interaction of that great soul. So that is the difference between an ordinary person's passing away and passing away of a great personality. And there is also a famous in the purport, Prabhupada also writes, Maharaj Yudhishthir was quite aware of all these good wishes of Bhishma Dev, and therefore he must have been feeling the great separation. He was sorry for the separation of a great soul and not for the material body which Bhishmadev relinquished. So whenever a devotee laments the passing away of the great soul, it is because of our loss. So that person has not gone away, that person is still living in their teachings, in their sound, but we are bereft of their physical association. But that person, he definitely is going back home, back to Godhead. And there is also this famous composition by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who writes that he reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. So this was composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary to Narada Bhakti Sutra. And devotees also use this to glorify the departure of great Vaishnavas, that they are still living in their sound vibration, in their instructions, but it is we who are at a loss. That Vaishnava is definitely never in loss because of leaving the body. And on the right hand side, I have shown here the picture of one of Srila Prabhupada's very senior disciples, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. He has composed a memoir. Is it the correct pronunciation? Memoir. Remembrance of many great disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So some of them in this picture I can recognize. We have Bhakti Tirtha Swami on the top right side. Then we have His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj on the bottom right side. We have Jayananda Prabhu on the bottom left side. We have Govinda Swami Maharaj just after Jayananda Prabhu. And we on the top we have, I think, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj. So these great personalities, we are very sure based on their dedication and service to Srila Prabhupada, they have gone back home, back to Godhead. This is the way how we should see the departure of a great Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. Prema Priya Mataji, you want to share something?
Yes, Prabhuji. I wanted to ask you one thing. Now, the souls are eternal, no, Prabhuji?
Yes,
so, though
yes.
the body departs, the soul can still be close to us. Why should we lament for that?
Yeah, but we don't want the souls of such great devotees be here just for our sake. We want them to continue in their service to the Lord and the spiritual master. When we say that they are still with us, they are still with us in their instructions. Like whatever Prabhupada himself said, that I will live forever in my books, in my instructions. So as long as we follow those instructions, as long as we accept their teachings in our day-to-day practical life, we can associate with them still, despite their departing. Is that all right?
Yes. Yeah, I guess the soul can be doing both. It can be serving
Correct.
the Lord as well as being with us.
Correct. Yes, Mother, that is true. And there are so many examples from the scriptures we see where that particular devotee, even after having departed, has personally given darshan and reciprocated with that devotee in separation. Like there is one specific pastime of one of Lord Krishna's great devotees from Srikhanda Dham, Narhari Sarkar, Narhari Thakur, and his disciple was his name Raghunandan. Can somebody confirm? Narhari Sarkar's disciple was Raghunandan. Yeah, Raghunandan Thakur. So Raghunandan Thakur, he conducted a big ceremony. Basically, he conducted first Gaurav Purnima festival in was it in Kheturi or Srikhanda Dham, in remembrance of his spiritual master with the guidance of Srimati Jannava Devi, the consort of Nityananda Prabhu. And in that Gaur Purnima festival, it is written in Chaitanya Charitamrut in the first Gaur Purnima festival, although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Narhari Thakur, and various intimate associates of the Lord who had departed from this world, by then everybody manifested to accept the offering that Raghunandan Thakur had offered to them. And also there was a huge tumultuous kirtan, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally, with all of his close associates who had departed from this world earlier, they all manifested just to participate in the kirtan and dance for the pleasure of the devotees. So there are instances, as Mataji mentioned, that such great personalities can be personally present as well to reciprocate with our feelings, even after their departure, provided we follow their instructions sincerely. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
So we just quickly wind up so that we can go to group activity. Yes. And after this, it is mentioned that Yudhishthir Maharaj, he conducts the funeral rituals for the body of Bhishmadev, and he is momentarily taken over by grief. But moreover, Yudhishthir Maharaj, such a noble soul he is, that he immediately realizes the need to pacify and offer his condolences and support to his uncle and aunt, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, because these people are at old age, and imagine they have just lost their all 100 sons. They have also lost their many grandsons, and now Dhritarashtra is hearing about departure of his uncle Bhishmadev. So both of them, they are in great separation from Bhishmadev as well. So in the interest of time, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, you can read through this at your leisure. I won't go through each verse. Let me go to the concluding part of the chapter. Yes. Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthir at once went to his capital, Hastinapur, accompanied by Lord Shri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. So Gandhari is specifically glorified here in this part of Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada writes one particular statement which is amazing. I came across this or noticed this first time. Prabhupada writes in the purport, Gandhari, although a woman, is no less than Bhishmadev in character. They are both remarkable personalities in Mahabharata. So what is special about Gandhari? That she was a lady of such integrity and character that because her husband was blind, she voluntarily accepted relinquishing the vision of the world just to be on a platform in sync of her husband's bodily limitations. So she also voluntarily gave up the vision of this world. And we can consider that even to not be able to see for few minutes when unless when we are asleep, it is so disturbing because we are always curious to know what is happening around us. But Gandhari accepted this position lifelong of totally covering her vision just to follow her husband. And now we come to the last verse of this particular chapter, which is, this is an important verse, so we will recite. Any devotee would like to recite this verse? Hare Krishna. Specifically requesting devotees who have not yet recited, if you want to, otherwise we request Gita Pradeep Mataji. All right, Lalita Vinodini Mataji. Yes, Mataji, just let me open it 1 second.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. 1 second, Mataji. Yeah, Pitra Chanumato.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Pitra Chanumato Raja.
Pitra Chanumato Raja.
Vasudevānumoditaha.
Vasudevānumoditaha.
Rajyam dharmena.
Kalarajyadharmena.
Paitamaham vibhuh.
Translation?
Yeah, translation by Divine Guru Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After this, the great religious king Maharaja Yudhishthira executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Mataji, just in a while. So here, important words in this particular verse are Pitra cha anumato raja, who was the elderly person living for Maharaj Yudhishthir, Dhritarashtra. So Maharaj Yudhishthir got the permission and blessings of Dhritarashtra to take over his new role as the administrative king of the entire earth. And not only did he get confirmation from Dhritarashtra, Vasudeva Anumoditaha, and his candidature as the king of the entire earthly planet was also condoned and supported by Lord Vasudeva, Lord Krishna. Chakara Rajyam Dharmena. He performed his occupational duties as the king based on the religious principles. What type of religious principles? Pitru Paita Maham Vibhu, as they were ordained by the great forefather Bhishmadev just a while ago. Yes, Mataji, please proceed.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Purport by Divine Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaja Yudhishthira was not a mere tax collector. He was always conscious of his duty as a king, which is no less than that of a father or spiritual master. The king is to see to the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. The king must know that human life is meant for liberating the encaged soul from the bondage of material conditions, and therefore his duty is to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain this highest stage of perfection.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, Yudhishthir Maharaj's rule of the kingdom is explained that he completely ruled it based on the teachings of Bhishma and teachings of Lord Krishna. Maharaj Yudhishthir executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna. And specifically, we'll discuss into this more in detail in next chapter, chapter 10, and also subsequent chapter 12. So chapter 10 and chapter 12 delve into more details about the religious rule of Maharaj Yudhishthir. And here specifically is mentioned that such king as a fatherly figure for all the subjects, they take care of not just the spiritual upliftment, but even bodily necessities, the social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. Everything they are careful. Like we see in Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Maharaj Prithu took over the rule of the kingdom after the unruly rule of his father, King Vena. First priority Prithu Maharaj gave was to, what was the first priority, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? What did he do for the welfare?
He has plowed the land and for Oshadis and.
Yes, so basically he explored the land and made it cultivable, so that sufficiently the minerals, the various herbs, the grains, milk and everything, all the necessities of life are available in ample amount for the living of the subjects. So such kings not only took care of the spiritual welfare, but overall welfare of their citizens. And they were like a father to the citizens. So now we come to the group activity, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. I don't know how much time we can give. Let's see. So the verses and the translations and the purports are still fresh in your mind. You don't have to really go through each purport one by one, but we will have around 3 different groups to jot down the points, and some of these points may be repeated. So that is totally fine. To jot down the points of learning from the passing away of Bhishmadev. Okay. And do you want me to give you specific verse numbers, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, or you are clear which verses we need to refer to? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
You mentioned the verses, Prabhuji.
Verses, okay. So specifically, you can refer to Suta Goswami's taking over the narrative so that the number of verses are less, 43 onwards. And if you want to take out any point from the earlier verses, that is fine as well. But main requirement is don't mention a point from your recollection. Mention a point along with the reference that in text 1, 2, 3, this particular point Prabhupada mentions in the purport, and that is our learning from Bhishmadev's passing away. Like that, let's see how many points. And considering the time constraint, we can take about 7 to 8 minutes within the groups to discuss, and then we come back to conclude. Hare Krishna. Is that all right, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? So let me just put it on the chat.
Prabhuji, can you allot the verses to each group?
Okay. See, I don't mind allocating the verses. My only worry is that, say, a group comes back saying that Prabhuji, in these verses, we could not find the learning. So that won't be fair to them. But okay, you want a shorter number of verses, I will give you. 1 second. If I tell you the specific verses, then it will be very clear, Mataji. Then devotees won't read the other parts. So. Okay, let's start from this particular text. Yeah. 43. Okay, there are not too many verses now. We have shortened the list. 42, 43 to 45. Just take 3 verses. Okay, 3 verses, 3 groups, and just see what all points we can learn from Bhishmadev's passing away. Refer to the purports also, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Okay, is that all right? Okay,
Yes,
let me
Prabhuji. Actually, we are reading the purports in our Bhakti Vrikshas, Prabhuji.
Okay, then good, not an issue. So, and take around 7 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes to discuss and come back. Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji, was the time sufficient or devotees had to rush?
It was sufficient.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll start with group 1 devotees who would be presenting. So basically, we need the learnings for all of us from Bhishmadeva's passing away. What all we can learn for our own practical application.
So, Prabhuji, in the group one, we all discussed that the activities from the Bhishma Deva, that sees his mind and the sight, the actions, all absorbed in the Lord Krishna. So it's like a Virgal Samadhi. So we should do all our duties and actions, but our mind should be always absorbed in the Lord Krishna. That's what our group discussed.
Thank you, Ananda Prada Mataji. Very nice point that how Bhishmadev was so much absorbed, he was remembering Lord's form, Lord's activities, pastimes, even from the earlier on time, from the battlefield of Kurukshetra and so on. Completely absorbed. Thank you, Ananda Prada Mataji. Any other devotees from group 1? If not, we
While
request.
chanting, he remembered the Lord as if he's in front of him. Not just mechanical chanting, it is realizing his presence and chanting very sincerely.
Thank you, Prema Priya Mataji. Group 2 devotees, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Devika.
Prabhu, we discussed and collected few points and tried to present them. Bhishma Deva was an eternal servitor, even though knowing his destination, his destination was Vaikunta. He was very humble and he was engaged in the devotional service at the time of death.
Yes, very important point. Mataji mentioned that it is mentioned in one of the Srila Prabhupada's purports that Bhishmadev did not act as if he is very sure where he wants to go. He was praying to the Lord to please keep the darshan available till his last moment. So because he was not sure where he will be going apparently. So that was his humility. Yes, Mataji. Then?
And he will be absorbed in the thought of Supreme Lord always. He was absorbed in the after that, I think during his death, I think he was absorbed in the thought of Supreme Lord. And what we learn from this is one should not die like an animal.
Yes.
But Bhishma Deva, during his death, he showed his highest perfection of life by absorbing the Lord in all the sense.
Srila Prabhupada mentions here, one should not die like an animal. Where is it? The last part of the purport. That is the difference between a man and an animal. The human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhishmadev. One should not die like an animal. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu. That's what. If I missed any point, that the team can add it.
Thank you, Devika Mataji. And other group 3. Any devotee would like to present from group 3? Any other point?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
So the group has chosen me. So from these 3 sloka, it is very clear that the way Bhishma Deva has passed his body, left his body by fixing his eyes on the Supreme Lord. And what is our key learning is that following such great acharyas, by engaging in Navavida Bhakti, devotional service, we can also rise to that stage where we can fix up our sight on the lotus feet of the Lord and leave this body. And second is 44, we understand by this that we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and our purpose is to engage in service of the Lord. So always know that Supreme Lord is the Supreme Master and we are his servitor, and enter the Vaikunta planet. Then, like any other yogis or jnanis, trying to merge into the Brahman effulgence. So that is one thing. And 45, what we understand is to such devotees, even the great demigods will shower flower and appreciate such a devotee. And most important, one more point we have learned in that is, do not try to imitate and do a Jayantis for ordinary person. So we should not be doing such kind of celebration. So these are few points which come up, Prabhuji. Any other points from the group? They can add. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sadatushta Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
Hare
Excuse me,
Krishna,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Excuse me.
One by one. So,
Narasimhadas,
yes, Venkata Narasimha Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
if even a person born as a human being with material world, but by constant touch with the Lords and constantly remembering him, his body will be spiritualized, just like
Yes,
in the
Prabhuji.
case of Bhishma.
Yes, Prabhuji. Very important point that even while living in this world, if we are sincerely engaged 24/7, we can spiritualize our body. Yes. P.S. Murthy Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
One of the important points was the love and affection that binds the Almighty and the devotee. That is the important thing. And the other feature is like Vishnu Deva, everybody should endeavor to, think of the Lord, the transcendental feature of the Lord until the last time. Like Vishnu Deva, until the end of, right through the war and until the end of his life, he just kept thinking about the transcendental feature of the Lord.
Thank you, P.S. Murthy Prabhu. So basically, Prabhuji mentioned that first point he mentioned how Lord goes to a great length to reciprocate with the desire of such great souls, and Lord Krishna as well went out of the way just to please Bhishmadev, and Bhishmadev's total absorption and remembrance of the Lord till the very end. Usha Kamat Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
so Bhishma Dev played both his roles, that is as a human being as well as a spiritual being, extremely well. He was respected both by human beings as well as the demigods. So just as he lived, he died also. He got the same honor that he got during his death as he got during his lifetime also. So that's a great learning that we need to balance, or we can balance our lives, both as a human being and try to attain spirituality by, following his instructions.
Yes, so very important point. To be a nice devotee, we need not be hard-hearted. As Mataji mentioned, we can be a nice being like Bhishmadev, Vidura, all these great personalities. Although they had so many constraints and all, still they were so loving and supportive to the Pandavas from their very childhood. And Bhishmadev himself was a person of such impeccable character that he did not take back his vow even when it was offered by his mother, and kept his vow. So both in this life, leading this life, as well as preparing for his departure, he was a person of highest character. Thank you, Mataji. And maybe we'll have last input by Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I want you to say something. Though we can afford to die like Bhishma Deva, we cannot attain the same state of salvation because he merged into the Lord. And I don't think we can expect to merge into the Lord, Prabhuji.
But we discussed that his merging into the Lord did not actually mean the merging like the yogis do in impersonal Brahman. His merging into the Lord is his complete absorption in thoughts, in remembrance of them. So yeah, he did not merge into the Sayujya Mukti way. Okay, his merging means the absorption. He went back to Godhead, to Vaikuntha planet. He did not merge in a impersonal effulgence, Brahma Jyoti.
Yes,
okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And Prabhupada specifically mentions where he gives reference to Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita sound vibration, the process of hearing, that it is possible to attain destination like Bhishmadev if we follow this process very sincerely of Navavidha Bhakti, specifically hearing about the Lord. So now we come to the last part of today's discussion. I just checked Prabhuji's, Mataji's, the link that Rohini Mataji has passed to me, it is for uploading the answer sheets for chapter 9. So apologies, there is no link for marking the attendance today. All right. So let's come back to the open book test. The nature of open book test we'll quickly review, and I will share this on the group as well. So as the name suggests, all of you will have the facility to refer to Srimad Bhagavatam, your notes while answering the question, but the questions will be slightly longer. So based on limitations of some of the devotees, we have quite a few elderly devotees. We will see, I'll talk to Namanishta Prabhuji and internally with Aishwarya Subhadra Mataji, with Anand Vilas Prabhu to see how best we can put it. But basically, main theme of answer should be, it should be a balanced presentation. That means whatever question you are answering, while giving references to specific verses, purports, also give what is the personal application from that particular concept or philosophy that is being mentioned in Prabhupada's purport. What is lesson for our own day-to-day life? Feel free to quote examples. See, we have typically been discussing Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Shastri in such a way with the help of Shastric examples. But my request is, don't quote examples just from your own random memory. Quote which you have read in Srila Prabhupada's books or heard from senior devotees within the moment. Don't quote speculative examples. Analogies, yes, this makes the answer very authentic. Give Shastric references. Yeah. And philosophical accuracy, like whatever we are mentioning, it should be in sync, consistent with the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophical principles. Degree of relevance, that means don't beat around the bush, give the details if they are very relevant to the question. Otherwise, it will go off track. And be concise in your writing. So just because number of words limit is high, don't write anything. Hare Krishna. So exact nature in terms of number of questions and all, I will come back to you. Ideally, they should be around 12 and you will have a lot of choices, write any 3 questions. But I just want to make sure that how much time elderly devotees will need. So let me come back on this. And if all the devotees are okay, we can try for unit test exam next weekend. And we can try for unit 1 open book test next weekend.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, next week, this test short answer has already been announced.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next week, unit, which unit thing?
Unit 1, which means chapter 1 to 9 open book test.
Yeah, thank you.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Murli Prabhu. Yeah.
Can you give 2 weeks after that, Prabhuji? Sure. Because it's quite a lot of material to be covered.
I don't mind giving 2 weeks. My only thing is I don't want devotees to get spaced out. Okay, as long as all of you are comfortable, I'm fine.
Yes, we need time, Prabhuji.
Sure. Okay.
2 weeks will take. Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhuji, my unit, the 8 is pending still. I have to take the exam for that too.
For which chapter, Mataji?
Chapter 8.
8. Okay, let's see. So you be ready for the next weekend. I will give a time slot from the available time slots. Okay.
Also, Krishna Prabhu.
One Bible.
What you say?
Sorry.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, PS Murthy Prabhu.
Prabhu, regarding the open book exam, could you please give us some idea of the type of questions you